Hi everyone, in this video we're going to see how to create a small animation of a ring. So we will see how to model it but also how to light it, and then we'll do a bit of animation to highlight all the details of it. We're going to change the units of the scene by going into scene units by millimeters. Then we want to create a ring which is 18 millimeters, so it's going to be roughly 60 millimeter diameter. So we're going to create a block which is 56 millimeters wide. So you can go into edit mode, put the edge length Alt Z to have it transparent. To select everything, and we want thing to be slightly longer. And here we want the ring to be thinner and narrower, so like this. So now create a spiral onto which the mesh is going to roll around. You need to add the add-on, you need to allow the add-on add curve extra object here to have all those objects. So we do this, curve spiral, arc median, and this is too big, so the radius needs to be 0.2. Actually, it's not the radius. This is the radius, 0.02. So we're in millimeter, but for some reason this is still in meter, so that's why I have to put 0.02. And radius growth, we want to lower it, so press Alt to be able to crank it from smaller step. Otherwise it goes with big steps like this. So Alt, and then you put it like this. And we want a Bezier curve and auto, because if you put vector, you're going to have angles. And maybe you can put 2 turns actually, because we want the mesh to go all around here and maybe stop here. So even if we don't use all this part, it's fine. So we do this, and actually while you're in edit mode, select everything, and we're going to rotate it vertically like this. So Alt, Control, and turn like this. Then this, we're going to apply a few modifier, generate subdivision surface. Then we are going to add also a bevel modifier. Actually, the bevel needs to go on top of the bevel like this, and you can add more divisions. And then lastly, we want to add a deform curve, and we're going to put this here, because it needs to be deformed after the subdivision happens. So the curve we're going to use is the one we just created, so this one here, and you see it's not orientated correctly, so we are going to change the axis. You can try different ones. I actually never know which one is the correct one. -y seems to be the correct. So you can increase subdivision like this, and you can also shade smooth. So we see it's a bit big, so we might want to lower the thing like this. And also you see it starts here and finish here, and this is because you need to put one end of the mesh to the central point of the geometry. So I never know which one it is also, but actually press this to see what you're doing. Select all the thing of your mesh, and then you can move it and move it right here. And actually we need something much longer. Let's do this here, and you see we already have the base shape. You can add a more subdivision to have something nicer like this, and remove the wireframe, the X-ray mode or transparent mode. And you see there is a line here, and so if you do this, you see if you reach a smaller point, so press Shift and go closer like this, you see that there is a value to which it's actually better. I mean, in order to do smaller, you would have to type it manually. So for example, 0.1. I mean, this is ridiculously low, so let's keep it at 1 here. You can also change this and see how it reacts, how it changes your mesh. And we can also modify the actual mesh to look. Actually, you see it's flat here because it goes further, so we might want to just change this here. Yeah, like this. What can you add? You can add an edge loop here and change this. So, you know, if you want to change the geometry and have something a bit more interesting, you can also add one here. Move this. So you see it's going to automatically move this here. So yeah, you can basically modify your shape like this. yeah, actually, let's do this. So then you're going to create an empty object. Put this smaller by going into the data tab and lower this, and we're going to select this, and lastly the empty, and parent it, so Control P object. So now when you move this, it's going to move everything. So that's the first step. Then we add a cube for the background. So make it slightly bigger, go in edit mode, delete 3 faces here, and then modifier generate bevel, and you can put this higher, and you can put this at the maximum, or actually, yeah, let's put it like this here, and let's add this slightly bigger, apply the scale, so Control A, all transform, so maybe you put this bigger, add the shade smooth here, and then you put this upper, actually take those edge here and lower it. If you have this kind of thing, you can lower this. And let's see how it looks already in cycle. So change the render engine to cycle, and then we're going to put the rendered view. The world, we want to remove the world color. So, and we're going to add a light, an area light here, like this, make it smaller, like this, and this is supposed to be, actually this is too powerful, so maybe put 2 watts. Yeah, 2 watts, that's good. This we're going to add a material, metal, so metallic maximum roughness close to 0. Yeah, this we're going to add a material which is rough and which is maybe a darker color, like this. This probably needs to be closer, like this. So we already have like nice highlights. We can add a light from behind. Actually, I'm going to duplicate this one. Where is it? Yeah. Yeah, you have nice reflection like this. You can angle it also, put a little angle so that it takes also the reflection, also that this part takes the reflection. So select your empty and move it. Finally, so you see we have this weird, not this weird, this annoying shadow. So you can select your backdrop, select your light and do Control P, not Control P, Control L, and link receivers to emitters, and do exclude. So it's going to exclude, so it's not going to light it. So it's going to light your ring, but it's not going to light this. Then actually we can add a spot, like this, make it smaller, and so it can be much stronger, maybe. So this shadow is way too sharp. So increase the radius, and it's going to blur the shadow like this. And here, maybe the blend also. You can change the blend like this. And actually, I want to put a color here on this one. So maybe, yeah, maybe this color could be nice. A sort of yellow, orangey yellow, dark orangey yellow. And we can add a camera that is looking in this direction. So just, you have only one camera, so only one active camera. So you can press Control Alt 0, and it's going to put your active camera where you're looking at. And then in the camera settings, we can add a focal length a bit longer, like this. And yeah, and I think that's nice, like this. Here, put it slightly smaller. And yeah, so that's already looking nice, like this. If you want to change the thickness or everything of your ring, you can still go in edit mode and change this. If you have something much more complex here and that you want to actually be able to still edit it flat and not like this, there is a trick. So actually, you will need to have 2 empties. So you're going to reset this empty, this one, so you can do all transform. No, so you can go back here and put it straight again, like this. And you can create another empty. So actually this is here, okay. So here, orientation, you can create a new empty, like this. And actually this empty is going to guide the other empty. So if I click on this and I go into constraint, add constraint, copy location and copy rotation, so both, and then you select your other empty for both, like this. It means that now you can move this however you want, but actually your other empty is, it can be influenced from 0 to 1 with this empty, and so if you put 0, it's going to come back to its initial position. So first, it's great to animate for animation, but here the purpose is not for animation. It's just that if you want to edit your cube flat, edit your mesh flat without having all those weird rotation, you can. And the way you do it, what you do is go into constraint here, and you can hide this basically. So it means that you can still edit this and then come back on your empty, on your orientation, and put it back like this. Let's take this empty and put it back to its original here. So 0, and then like this. So let's look at the ring a bit closer. We are going to change slightly the shape. So select your ring, and maybe I want something a bit smoother here. So let's add an edge loop here, and maybe move this here, like this. And actually you see it's creating a sort of corner, so we can sort this by going into the modifier and here in bevel change the angle at which it's going to work. So we want that it works at least at 90 degrees. So 30 degrees can be brought higher. It will only create a bevel on things where the angle is higher than 30 degrees. So here it created a bevel. So if we crank this up, you'll see at some point that actually it has already done it. So if I do, so you see at 30 it was like this, and now it's getting better. It's getting smoother. So this also here, you see there is an angle, and it's probably because, so you see at, so here, so it changes at around 50 degrees. So it means that the angle here is probably around 50 degrees. So you can move this up, but don't go over 90 degrees, otherwise it's going to modify everything. So I don't know, put it at 87 for example, or something close. Then we said we want it thicker, so we can select all the top parts here and brought it a bit thicker like this. Yeah. And also maybe it's a bit too round, so we can change this to 0.8. Alright, so that's good. Well, let's change first this color because it's not that great. You see the difference between the background and this is very, you can't see that much. Actually, let's hide everything. So you see it's almost like, yeah, there is no transition. It's because it's actually reflecting it's reflecting the background. So if you want to add to modify this, there is a trick which is actually adding a plane slightly smaller like this, and bring it somewhere here. So now you see we have nice reflections that we didn't have before, but we see this big plane. So we are going to go into the object properties of this plane, and in visibility we can remove diffuse, camera. So you see this is still there, but you can't see it, and also shadow. And do we want to remove the other stuff? No. and we basically it's mostly glossy that we want to keep because it's going to keep the reflection. So you see, you can modify this thing, and it's going to modify the what you see in the reflection, like this. Put viewport display wireframe so that you're still able to select it. And here you have nice reflections. And if it's too much reflective, actually create a material, and you can always put a plane which is darker with the base color and rougher, like this. Yeah. And a last trick regarding the ring is to so we have perfect reflections of the light here, but in reality you wouldn't, everything which is made by which is unmade would have some impurities, and this would probably be casted and then polished, end polished, or so you can add this sort of impurities in the shader by going into your shader and so let's put this and add some noise texture in displacement. So you would also go in the shader here and the material properties, and go settings and go displacement and bump. Then you have to create a new displacement node, bring this to the height and displacement here, and it's going to make this thing. So there are two reasons why it's making this. So first of all, this is way too high, but so actually you can put 0.01 for example, and this is still too high. But one of the other reasons is because and I'm going to disconnect this to show it, is that if you do a preview on this, so you have to have the node wrangler to actually see to the preview. So you control shift on the thing you want to preview. You will see that it's lined like this, and it's it's not creating a great noise texture. And this is because it's not mapped. So you have to do Control T on the noise texture, and maybe we can put UV here, and we need to UV unwrap it. So go into edit mode of your ring, select everything, and do UV unwrap. So U and UV unwrap. And now, how does it look? Well, actually, maybe this is too big also. Yeah, it's not great. So I'll try another UV unwrap. So what if I do smart project? Yeah, this kind of work. It's not perfect. Actually, what happens if I do this? So sometimes, well, it seems too great. Yeah, actually you can put object. I don't think it's correct to put object, but it's better than the generated one and better than the UV. So just keep object, and you see the sort of the noise created. Just don't make it too low, so something like this maybe. And then use this for the height as you did, and then displacement, and then Control Shift on the principal BSDF to come back on the thing. So that's an interesting effect, but it's not what we want. So actually this needs to be slightly smaller, and also the displacement, the height, no, the scale, sorry, needs to be smaller. So you can put 0.001, so we can we can't see anything. So maybe crank it up to 0.05. This is too much. Maybe 0.2. Yeah, actually that's not too bad. So if you look in your camera, you see that the reflections are not exactly straight, and that's what we want. You can always change this to if you want to add impurities into your object. So I don't know. I don't want to have something too. Yeah, I still want something quite shiny and smooth. So I'll keep this low like this. Yeah. Maybe that's even too big. 0.01. Yeah. Yeah. So we have our camera, which is right here, and we are going to see how we can animate this also. So so this camera, which is here, we want to create an effect which is actually looking at the ring and slightly moving like this. And then we want to create another shot where we see this part, but actually it's focusing on something and then focusing on something else. And we want to create this in a way that we don't have to that it's easily you can easily modify it if you need to. So so that you have basically you would have mostly to move objects in order to or empties in order to modify it, and not to have to I key everything all the time. So the way we're going to do this is that we're going to use path. So first, this needs to look at this object. So we're going to create an empty. So plane axis here, slightly smaller. Yeah, and then we'll take this camera and go into constraints, and then track to, and then we'll track it to our new empty, which is, I can't remember actually, that's why it's good to actually rename your object. So track camera, we'll call it like this. We can have it slightly smaller. Also, not to lose it, we can go in object data and say name, so that now the name is on it. So if we click on the name, we are actually, if we click on an empty, we'll actually see that we click on the correct one. So here we are. Then you'll take this camera, go into constraint, add track to, and then select the object track camera like this. So now if you move your camera, you see it's going to keep looking at this. And now the second thing we're going to do is to create a path on which that the camera is going to follow. So we're going to create a Bezier curve. Actually, the Bezier curve, maybe put your cursor at the center of the scene. So Shift C, and then create a Bezier curve here. And so from the top view, go in edit mode, and we will select everything and move it with one side at the angle at the point that you want, approximately here, actually like this, and then maybe scale everything. And the idea is that we want to create a path that the camera will follow. So if you do this, and you move this here, and this here, yeah, perfect. So now bring it up, so select those 2 points and bring it here. And then we're going to use this camera and create a new constraint, which is follow to path. We'll put it first, and the object we're going to follow is this here. It kind of moved the camera, but not exactly on the thing. So so first we want to make sure that it's following the path. So you want to put fixed position. Fixed position will create an offset, will allow you to use this offset factor to say, okay, where do you want it to be on the curve? And actually you see this point, even if it's offsetted, it's when you move the offset factor, it actually moves the camera in the same way, like this. So we just have to put this here, basically. So one of the things we can do is, so first need to make sure that this camera has everything applied, so location, rotation, and scale, and same for this one, same for the curve. So Control A, all transform, and we want this to be here. So we're going to move. Obviously, yeah, if you do it manually, you're going to end up having something not exactly matching. So we want to put the cursor here. So Shift S in edit mode by selecting this cursor to active, and then you come back in object mode and select your camera, and then Shift S, selection to cursor here. So now the camera has moved here, and it's following this. So if you look in your camera, you see we're here, and actually if you create a new window, so vertical split with the viewports, and you look here, you see that by following this, it's going to rotate the camera, and so this will happen if I change the offset factor. So you see it's doing this now. So the great thing with this is that you can put an I key at the beginning and an I key at the end, and then if you want to follow the path, you don't have to change your eye keys, you can just modify this path and it's going to follow. Same for the target. So let's try and say, okay, we want that this is the first here, so press I, and then maybe if I press I here, okay. So let's delete this one. So yeah, it created this. So you can then move the I key here, and it will follow the path. And if you want to have this go further, you can modify this here, and it will still follow the path, which is great because it's much easier to edit the, what you're seeing with this kind of technique. So actually by doing this, I realized that this is a bit sharp, a bit too sharp, maybe this. So I'm going to put the radius a bit bigger to have something, to have a shadow a bit smoother. Second camera, we're going to add it here. In order to add a camera where I see, so we say it's Ctrl-Alt-0, but the thing is, if you do this now, you're going to move this one. We're going to first create a new camera, Shift-A, make this camera active, and then Ctrl-Alt-0 in this viewport. And then it's going to move this camera we just created where it is. So like this here. And actually for this one, we're mostly going to move the focus of the camera. So to do this, we create a new empty, which is here, okay, and we'll call it focus. And then add this camera tracking, this here. So if I do track to this, so now you see it's tracking it, and actually it created this a bit far, the empty a bit far. So bring it back to the ring, and then here, let's bring it here. Okay. So now we want also the camera that we just created to have a focus on the same object, so on the focus. So depth of field, object will be focus. And if you go in this mode, you see that it's focused on this. So we're going to do the same actually. We're going to create a path, but not for the camera, but for this object. So it works similarly. We just have to create a new Bezier curve. And then you do exactly the same basically. 90 degrees, like this, here. And we're going to put one part here. Go into edit modes and just select one size. Actually, let's scale everything because it's way too big. Okay. We maybe want to have the camera focus here first, and then focus there. So go into edit mode, and one side will be here, and one other side will be here. And we just have to turn those. So it might be a bit tricky, but we have to turn those like this. Actually, let's put this mode to see better what we're doing. Okay. Yeah, I think it looks great. And now we will take our focus and say, and go into constraint, follow the path, and we will follow this path. No, not this path. The one we just created, which is going to be, let's call it focus path. It's very important to name your objects and not to get lost. So do this, then you select focus, and you select the path, which is focus path. All right, and then I can simply move this in order to have my focus. So now when I look into the preview mode, I'll just increase the passepartout. Where is it? Viewport display, passepartout. Yeah, cool. I'll take my focus and you see it's going to focus slowly on this and then slowly there. So in this way you can do an animation where you say here, that's going to be focused here, and maybe add, we want it to go quite slow, so maybe 100 frames later to go to be at factor 1. So press I here, and now it's doing this. And the great thing is, because we have the other one which is selected, we can say, which is turning there up to frame 80, we can here do a marker and say bind camera to marker. So actually it's going to bind the one which is selected. So you want to select this one, the first one. So you say bind camera to marker, and then at 80, because the others start moving at 80, you can select this one, make it your active camera, and then say bind camera to marker. And so now if you look, press 0, and you add the pass bar 2 also here. Oh, okay, I need to select this one, and I'll put this here. So now if I play the animation, you see that it's going to move like this, and then go there, and like this. So you can improve this animation by changing the path and maybe have some more interesting views. You can also rotate the main axis to which everything is attached in order to, you know, have the light reacting differently on the ring, and also maybe animating this empty so that the light changes during the animation. The best thing is to experiment, and if you have an idea in mind, to just try it and see how it looks. And don't hesitate to comment if you have any question.